I'm Victoria Cobb, president of the Family Foundation, here today with a very exciting announcement. It's wonderful to be here on a day where you see a vision come to life. At the Family Foundation, we are thrilled to announce that we are launching a legal center, the Founding Freedoms Law Center, in order to essentially round out the way that we've been interfacing with government. For years and years, folks have known us for our work in the legislature, lobbying and advocating for the values that you and I share, for life, for religious freedom, for parental authority, and so much more. And of course, we've lobbied the executive branch, where we've kind of sat down with governors and tried to help them make the right choices for Virginia. But the place where we felt we needed to take it to the next level was, what do we do with our judiciary? What happens when governors or attorney generals don't follow the rule of law, when they don't uphold the U.S. Constitution, our free exercise of religion? What do we do now? And so we are thrilled to add this sort of third component to round out our work in defending the values that we share. And so we'll get into the details, but first what I want to do is introduce to you the folks that will be heading this up. I'm going to first bring up to the podium Jim Davids. We met Jim as just an amazing law professor here in Virginia. He'll give you his background, but he joined our board, so he has been part of the Family Foundation's leadership for several years, and now he's going to step into a different role as Chief Counsel of Founding Freedoms Law Center. Jim?
Thank you, Victoria. 1, 4, 14, and 44. I am the husband of 1, the father of 4, the grandfather of 14, and I've been practicing law now for 44 years. I practiced law in Chicago, where I was born and raised, and I did a lot of litigation over there. I was defending doctors and hospitals, primarily in medical malpractice litigation, but I had actual trial work over there, and that's part of my background. Back in 2001, I moved to the DC area and was part of the Justice Department and focusing upon the faith-based initiative, again dealing with constitutional law, but also regulatory law. From the Justice Department, I then started teaching law, constitutional law, as well as trial practice, among other things, over at Regent University. And recently left there, and am delighted now with this particular venture, a very important venture for this time in Virginia. Next person I'd like to introduce a bit is Josh Hetzler. Josh, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Jim. Josh Hetzler. I'm going to be the legal counsel for Founding Freedoms Law Center. And I've been with the Family Foundation as the legislative counsel for 5 years now. Before that, I graduated from Liberty University School of Law in Lynchburg. And one of the things I've had the opportunity to do in the past 5 years, in addition to lobbying and working with public policy and all of its facets, is we had the opportunity to actually sue the Virginia Board of Health and the Department of Health in a case that was actually pretty precedential. And we would go on to win that case as we challenged regulations related to abortion facilities. And so I've had a really good opportunity there as the Family Foundation has begun to step into the legal realm. But now I'm very excited to be taking on more of a larger role in the litigation field, and we look forward to the many things to come.
This is a vision that we had simply to round out what we do, but also because Virginia is changing and has changed, and we know that you saw that after last November. We certainly saw that we were going to have laws that were going to harm more people. That's the reality of the consequences of elections. And now we've been through the General Assembly, we saw what's passed, and today, July 1, many laws go into effect that we believe are going to create victims of bad law, religious freedom victims who are people of faith, who are exercising their right to practice their faith, not simply in a building worshiping God on a Sunday, but throughout the week in their place of employment, in their school, whatever it may be. And now we've had a hostile government come in and pass some laws that are going to infringe on that. And so it's never been more important. And in fact, the other thing that happened this General Assembly is that our Attorney General got a host of new money, a whole bucket of new money to employ new attorneys specifically for the purposes of prosecuting, of going after folks who would dare to practice their faith in these arenas that these new laws address. And so to speak a little bit more to that, I'm going to have Josh come up and talk to you about the new laws and how we see that impacting this law center and the need to be here today.
Well, there are a number of laws that are taking effect today that very much concern us with regards to religious liberty, parental rights, free speech, life, any number of things. But one of the things that we spent the most time on and put the most effort in was in the issue that we saw this past session in 2020, was Senate Bill 868. And this is a great concern for us because what it does is it adds the concepts of sexual orientation and gender identity into our Human Rights Act and into the various parts of our non-discrimination laws. Now, we all believe, I think, that we ought to treat people with respect, everyone, no matter who they are, and we should love and be kind to everyone. But these, unfortunately, have the result of compelling people, often people of faith, into doing or not doing things that they can't do according to their faith, or not being able to do things that they ought to do. And but these laws are going to impact essentially every business, and we're very concerned about that. You may think about Jack Phillips, the cake baker, who continues to be sued over simply saying that I can't participate in something that would cause me to celebrate something that goes against my faith. All right, so there are those, but we're especially concerned about the churches, about the religious schools, about the other religious nonprofit organizations who, whether in hiring or in public accommodations, or maybe in some cases even housing, maybe they have a camp that they run. These are going to become issues when it comes to private spaces, and even who they can hire and fire, and potentially who can even be members, right? And so these things clash with conscience and religious liberty in ways that we're just going to see a lot of conflict. And we know how important this law center is going to be in addressing those situations. The other thing I'll mention about this is that this new law comes with crushing fines, up to $50,000 for a first offense, up to $100,000 for every subsequent offense. And they come with attorney's fees to the prevailing party, as well as compensatory and punitive damages up to $150,000. So we're talking about something where a lot of entities, especially religious ones, are really going to need some representation, because we're concerned that they're going to be targeted for no other reason than that they continue to hold to the core tenets of their faith. So, and I'm gonna let Jim talk about some of the other things, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of some of the things we're gonna be dealing with.
Thanks, Josh. Yes, obviously we will be representing and hope to represent religious nonprofit organizations, schools, churches. But the Family Foundation is always focused upon families. And the laws that were enacted and are effective today are laws which directly affect the family. I'll give you two little examples. One of the most important things that we believe in family situations are parental rights. There are now school districts across the country, and if they're not here in Virginia, they soon will be, that are actually hiding from parents the fact that their child is questioning their sexual identity, their gender identity. This is something that should be specifically a parental concern, and rather than hiding this information from parents, this actually should be discussed with parents, and so parents can take the active role leading their child through the questions that this child may have. But that is something that's coming to public schools over here in the Commonwealth. And in addition, the laws that were created specifically deny to Christian psychologists and psychiatrists the ability to have conversion therapy. In other words, if a child is a lesbian or if is gay, that child cannot be attempted to convert that child back to their heterosexual orientation. That is a conversion therapy ban that was recently enacted, and we're looking forward, frankly, to working with some Christian counselors, some Christian psychologists who have found this to be effective in the past and want to continue restoring the right relationship. Those things are all important to us, and although we're announcing the Founding Freedoms Law Center today, we've already had a case, and let me briefly describe that to you too. When the Governor Northam issued some executive orders, one of the executive orders, of course, was a stay-at-home order. We had a client who was performing medical services outside of the Planned Parenthood facility over in Virginia Beach. Her name is Sherry Britt, and Sherry was out typically 2 to 3 days a week in a mobile van. And the van had a sonogram piece of equipment there. And one of the requirements prior to today is that you needed a sonogram for the gestational age of the baby whenever there was an abortion. So this sonogram was a necessary component then to getting an abortion. And of course, Sherry would and her registered sonographer literally were performing this particular medical function and then sharing that information with the mother, and of course doing some counseling, and hopefully the mother would decide to keep the baby. Anyway, after the governor issued that executive order that said that we should all stay home, Sherry refused to stay at home. It was her job to do this counseling. It was her job to provide these sonograms. And although Planned Parenthood was considered an essential job here in the Commonwealth, she very reasonably thought, well, abortion counseling should also be essential. Anyway, one morning, Planned Parenthood gave a call to the Virginia Police Department. The Virginia Police Department came out. They talked a little bit to Sherry as well as some of the other abortion counselors there at the time. And they said, we're going to give you a ticket if you're not gone by the next time we show up. And Sherry stood her ground, and she was there when they came back, and so they issued her a ticket, a citation. And it was for violation of the executive order. She was smart enough and wise enough to call Josh, who recognized that, look, this is something that we should look into. So therefore, a month or two even before we were officially going forward, we were already taking our first case on behalf of Sherry Britt. And I'm happy to say that we won that particular case. The city of Virginia Beach decided not to prosecute the case, so they dismissed the case, which I think was the right thing for Virginia Beach to do. How much money did we charge Sherry Britt for our services on her behalf? The answer is zero. We will not charge you for serving as your lawyers. We are committed to your conscious rights, your religious freedom rights, your rights as parents. There's a whole panoply of issues that we are willing to represent you on. And with respect to Sherry, obviously we're batting 1,000, which is not bad for a baseball team that's just kind of starting out. But I can't assure you success in everyone, but certainly our hope is to win a lot more than we ever lose in this particular case. Victoria, you want to finish up?
So as you can see, we're already seeing the need to have the Founding Freedoms Law Center to protect the rights. And you know, whether you're a child that has same-sex attraction that is unwanted and can no longer find help because the law won't allow you to find help, or you're a counselor that can't provide that help, or whether you're a church that can no longer hire according to the tenets of your faith because of this new law, or you're a school where you're being told you can't confine your bathrooms, locker rooms, shower rooms to simply biological boys and biological girls so that people can expect safety in these private places, or you're a student that your privacy rights have been violated because of these laws. we just simply expect that we are going to be in a situation where more than ever, unfortunately, we're going to have to defend these rights that we believe are God-given, and the government is simply, put in place by God to uphold, not to attempt to alter. And so we want to defend those for you. We want to be here on your behalf. Many legal partners out there, but we felt like Virginia needs its own hub here so that folks know there are Virginians who understand Virginia law well, who know the process that these things went through to go into place, and know how we can sort of battle through our own, sometimes state court, sometimes maybe we'll be in federal court, but that we can battle through the judicial process on your behalf. So we're thrilled to be here. We're thrilled that many supporters help make these moments happen. So I can't end this without saying we're just incredibly grateful to the people who support the Family Foundation, and some who have specifically already supported getting this launched and off the ground. So with that, we look forward to hearing from anyone who needs our help.